saw this coming, and they decided to actually have contracts written with our recyclers to continue to take our plastic. But the condition is that that plastic has to be clean, so it can't be full of liquid or food, and it, you know, needs to be clean enough that they could actually recycle it without having any problems. So, because of that, San Francisco and Recology, our waste hauler, is continuing to push all of their customers across San Francisco to continue to recycle. And just focusing on clean recyclables, and also making some changes that makes it easier for all of us to recycle. So what they did, in addition to making those contracts, the city got the authority to fine the largest waste generators if we weren't complying. And UCSF is one of 450 of the largest waste generators in the city. So they allowed the city to fine us $1,000 a day if we don't comply with this waste sorting ordinance. And what they did was say, okay, compost, if you send us all your compost and only less than 5% is contaminated with things that should not be there, they'll accept it with no fine. For recycling, they're allowing us to 10% of contaminants or things that should not be in the recycle. And that includes plastic bags. They won't take plastic bags anymore. So it's a challenge for our housekeeping staff to just dump the plastic and not the bag, because they collect it all in bags. So that's going to be a challenge for them, but they're willing to actually dump it out as long as they know that it's not dirty, right? So shouldn't be any liquids in there or food, as much as possible. So if you have, a peanut butter jar and you clean it out as best you can, and that's the best you can do, they'll take it. But if it's, a quarter full even, or even an eighth full, they won't take it. They'll consider that contaminant. So up to 10%, and then even for landfill waste, which is all the garbage that cannot be recycled, they'll allow up to 25% contaminants. So that contaminants would be something that's recyclable in the landfill waste. So they're actually catching us in all three areas, which is really going to be challenging for us. They could charge us $1,000 a day. We have 3 compactors at 3 locations, so that's times 9. If we don't get it right, we could be fined up to $9,000 a day. And not even that. Right now, for compost and recycling, they're giving us an $1,800 credit if we do it right. If we do it wrong, they take away that $1,800 credit. So that's another, 18 times 6. If we don't do it right. So they're coming at us from all different angles. It's because they have a regulatory requirement to meet to divert all this material from landfill, and the landfills are filling up. So there's not that much room left, and they want us to try to do everything we can to do our part in helping this go forward. And then we estimated that it could cost us up to almost $8 million if we fail every single day. Recology actually came to UCSF and did some audits for a few days on all 3 waste streams, and we failed every one of them. So that's why I'm going to every department across the health system to train everybody on what are the things that we want to look for. So let's start with the biggest opportunity. We think that if we focus mainly on all the recycling, we can make a huge dent, because if recycling is going in the right container, it's not going in the wrong containers, right? So these are all the things: no food, no liquid, no blood or body fluids, and all these plastics are all recyclable. So we're looking at bedpans, kidney basins, urinals, any bottles with a narrow neck, the wash basins, newspaper, any cardboard, plastics, foil, even utensils. All the utensils that we sell in the hospital are all plastic, so that it's consistent across the board, so we don't have to be confused about what's compostable and what's not. One of the big changes is the coffee cup. Before, you had to take the plastic cup off and put it in the plastic recycling, and then put the cup in the compost. They decided, people couldn't get it right. It was just, and it was too almost inconvenient. If you have a recycling container over here and a waste container over here, you have to, put one here, put one there, and run back and forth across the room. So they said you could put the cover and the cup and the sleeve empty, so you have to pour all the liquid out, and then you can put it in the recycle. So that's a big thing. And then you can see some of the other items you're probably familiar with: aluminum cans, plastic. So when we talk about hard plastic, we're saying it has to be something that if you collapse it, scrunch it up and it pops back out into its original shape, that's the plastic that they'll recycle. It won't be like a plastic bag or a plastic covering or a plastic wrap or anything like that. They just won't recycle those. Yes?
Regarding the urinals and the bedpans, what's the concern for biohazard?
Well, in most cases, you rinse them out, you pour out the liquid, and then you're fine. So, yeah, any one of them, if you do a quick rinse, you're fine. Yes?
What about IV bags?
IV bags are considered plastic bags, and there's no market for plastic bags anymore, so all that goes in the garbage. But we do ask that you drain it, though, if it's got liquid in it, you want to drain it first before you put it in the garbage.
So then, if you need to drain something, like let's say someone downstairs wants to throw their coffee cup in the recycle, is there a place for them to pour it out?
Just the bathrooms and the kitchens.
Are they garbage?
Convenient.
Yeah.
To walk.
It's inconvenient, yeah. We're asking folks just to finish it up.
Yeah.
We are experimenting with a insert in the garbage can that you can pour liquids into. Where do you think this is happening frequently in particular areas? If we can focus on those
Cafeteria.
areas.
The cafeteria.
Oh, the
we can't
cafeteria.
really manage because it's everybody.
I see.
Guests.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
here, there's absolutely no recycling here.
Yeah, we have no
Yeah.
recycling containers in this room.
Okay, so what we're doing is we partnered with hospitality, and we gave them money to go ahead and buy the containers for every department that needs it. So if you could let me know how many you need here, then we can get them for you. And get the stickers to.
What about the composting? Because in an area like this, composting attracts flies.
Right.
They get right into the alarm.
So,
So we need to change it.
what hospitality and infection control is saying that we can't have it, especially in surgery, of course.
Right.
No odors, no pests, it's just unacceptable. So, we decided we're gonna limit compost just to the cafeteria, just for phase one. So phase one, we're really just focusing on recycling. Then phase two, we're gonna start looking at compost mainly in the bathrooms with paper towels only. And then, if everyone is actually being really good and we're finding that we're passing all of our inspections, and then phase three would be looking at compost, other areas. But what Food and Nutrition Services has promised is that if you get patient carts, you can put your compostables on the patient cart and over downstairs. You'll get patient carts here at home, right? So that doesn't help. The only other way to do it is if you want to collect it in small amounts and then bring it downstairs on your own. That's dramatic. Yeah. Otherwise, then all that goes in the garbage. But when we look at landfill waste, there's a 25% buffer there. So those kind of things can go in the landfill waste and they won't be penalized for that. Okay, so let's look at more closely with recyclables. I mentioned no liquids. That's the worst thing, because even if you have coffee in a coffee cup and you pour it in, everything else gets wet. If we have cardboard or paper in there with the intent to recycle it, it gets wet. Once it gets wet, it can't be recycled. So that's a challenge with any kind of liquids. But hard plastic, paper cups, the usual cans, bottles, and foil are all acceptable. Foil balls, if you have foil, they want them the size of a softball. So if it's smaller than that, when it goes through, all of waste gets dumped onto this conveyor belt, and then as the conveyor belt goes by, there's people on both sides pulling off things in the categories that they're assigned to pull off. But any kind of small pieces of plastic falls through the conveyor and gets stuck in the gearing, and then the whole machine shuts down. They have to stop the whole line and pull it out. So they asked us, don't put anything smaller than a softball if you can. If you're finding smaller plastic things, you can always collect them into a larger plastic container and then seal that, and they'll take that. Newspaper, cardboard boxes are acceptable, but like I said, they can't get wet. Urinals and bedpans are all fine as long as they're rinsed. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest contaminant that ends up in recycling bins? Sorry?
Food and drink.
Okay, what else?
Plastic bags.
Yeah, what else? Yeah, clothes. gloves, gowns, and masks. So we've gone up on the floors, we've gone walking through the entire hospital, and we see gloves, gowns, and masks in every container. They end up in the compost, they end up in the recycling, they end up in the waste, in the garbage, but it's all garbage, it's all trash. So there's no market to get any of that. And there is some glove recycling. You may have heard that there's a company that does glove recycling. But infection control doesn't trust that we are taking our gloves off correctly, and the potential for cross-contamination is higher, so they're not allowing us to do any gloves collection or recycling at all. So gloves, gowns, masks, plastic bags. How many people have seen the styrofoam cup that looks like a paper cup, but it's got kind of styrofoam around the
Are
outside?
they still making that?
They are still making it, and we try to outlaw it through Office Max, and it keeps coming back into the hospital. It keeps coming back into the campus too. I don't know why. It's just, I think they changed the SKU number of people ordering it. But those, we can't recycle those, the styrofoam, and even the foam peanuts and, foam coolers, all the styrofoam we can't recycle, so that's all garbage. And then, potato chip bags are one of the worst. I know it's really big in catering, but those cannot be recycled at all, so it's all garbage. Okay, and then we are gonna focus on, compost in the bathrooms and exam table paper, but this is kind of phase 2, so we'll get to that later. That's another one, doesn't really apply here. This is something that we're thinking is really important, is keeping the bins together, so when we come back and, help you set up your bins, we wanna make sure that they're next to each other so that you could sort easily without having to take any more extra steps. Do it all at one time. When it gets split up, people just tend not to use them at all. So that's, and we wanna put a sign on the wall and on the container. We're trying to find adhesive that doesn't tear the paint off the wall. So we tried a few, and I think we're back to painter's tape. Okay, and then coffee, again, empty it out, put it in the recycle. Another thing about liquids, and these are actually posters, these 4 posters we're gonna be putting on screensavers, so that it kind of reminds people, all these 4 items. And then the next step is really to assign a green champion within your department, 1, 2, or 3, who could be kind of like your point person. If you have any questions, you can go to them. Usually it's someone who really, cares and is passionate, Connie.
Well, our green champion retired, I don't know who's
we gotta find a new
took
one.
the
She found it.
baton. Well, what would be the perks for being that? Because if there is, I would be.
Saving the planet.
Saving the planet.
That's all. So for that person, we will send you, updates and new information, so you'll be like the first person to know if there's any changes. In addition, if you want refreshers, I can always come back and get refreshers. If anyone missed this session, I can come back and do that. We put this whole slide deck at this link, and we are gonna be doing a webinar as well, so we'll have the audio with the slide deck actually. And I think one thing we are doing is an iPad giveaway. So everyone who attends here will go on to our drawing for an iPad. So that's one of the benefits. Actually, what we should do is, we should put the champion's name in twice.
I'll be the
We have
champion.
double the
Not for
chance
the
of
iPad.
winning the iPad.
You can give me the iPad.
So, any questions? Yeah.
Go ahead.
The building I worked at back at home in Oregon, they actually had they hired people with disabilities to
Mhm.
sort out the recycling.
Mhm.
So in the OR, they just said, they had one bin, they just said to throw everything that you bought in it, so that way no one had to think. And then they would hire people, so it created jobs
Mhm.
for people that otherwise couldn't go to other places. And so they would sort everything out for the hospital, and that way there wasn't a problem.
Right.
Yes, it was fine.
We suspect that the city actually created this ordinance to provide employment for that population. The challenge here is our loading dock is so packed full of supplies and equipment, and there's, linens, anything is moving through that loading dock. There's no place to actually sort it. We could have them on the floor, but I don't think where on the floor do you have for them to sort it? Even that's a problem. So it's really more the space. We have the desire to hire them, and even,
It's just like you're getting fined all these
Yeah, and Food and Nutrition Services says they're gonna hire someone down in the cafeteria just to sort, just like at Parnassus. But, there's just no room. I mean, we would love to do that if we could. We even offered to take it all off-site, but the ordinance won't allow us to do that. They say it has to be done on-site.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, so I have an exercise, if you wanna grab something from my
question.
bag. We'll
What's
go
your question,
through.
Jerome?
I do have one thing to say, because I am very passionate about recycling, so if anyone's been paying attention to the climate, news lately, really, we are in a crisis, you do have to recycle. Because we're running out of room, we're running out of resources, just don't be lazy and throw your can in the freaking, I'll shame you, I will shame you.
And the oceans are being
That's not how you
inundated with all the
educate people,
trash.
though.
The fish are being killed, the wildlife is being killed.
I like that one.
Straws or
Wanna grab
devils.
something?
Gail, I have a question.
Yes.
So I've sat down with,
Do you have a question?
yeah.
Question, go ahead.
So I've sat down with a lot of committees with recycling program, and one of the challenges is how we are going to disseminate and create a sustainable program within a unit. Particularly in the OR, the OR is a very challenging environment because there's a lot of key players. I just wanna ask, or I'm curious if you guys partnered with the physicians as well, because obviously we could educate as much as we want the staff, and I think the staff are very, most of us are very, what we call this one, compliant when it comes to programs like this. But we are also dealing with and sharing space with the anesthesia physicians and everybody else. Is there any education for them?
Yeah,
as well?
this is a really good question, because, I've been trying to find out who on the medical staff and the residents and the medical students I can contact to get this information to them, and there's so many different groups.
Right.
It's really
Start with
hard.
anesthesia.
I'm sorry?
Start with anesthesia.
Yeah, okay.
They're, I feel like, the biggest.
Are they the worst?
Yeah.
Okay, I can start with them. I have a friend in anesthesia, so.
I think it's a lot of times medical students.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea, residents, like we see medical students and residents still tossing syringes into the garbage.
Oh my gosh.
Constantly, and they're like, oh, I've been doing that for 4 years.
Ah.
I had no idea they go into
Wow,
the sharps
yeah.
container.
So,
But when I worked on
Yeah.
the floor, it was the same thing. We had a garbage can and a recycling bin right next to each other, signage, every single time. Like they take off their gloves and they throw it right into the recycle and walk out of the room.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, the gloves, gowns and masks are the worst, and I think it's not staff, I really think it is. It's all the whole medical, it's the medical staff. So trying to reach I was told you have to go to every department and talk to every department
so
to get them to.
can I make a recommendation?
Yes.
So I think what I suggest is to pull different key stakeholders, like, you know, maybe the administration of the operating room. There's also you should also be getting a buy-in from the medical director or whoever it is, and sit down in a table and come up with a game plan, because I think we could educate as much as we can. Unfortunately, if we are not pulling the right people in the right table, I think we're not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's
So,
my recommendation.
so you're saying go to every category department, like thoracic surgery,
Right, so,
cardiac surgery?
and facilitate the
anesthesia.
discussion and have an open
Yeah.
discussion with all of them,
Mhm.
the medical directors, the
Yeah.
administration of the OR, and that way everybody's on the same page, because I think what I've seen in many hospitals, it's a very important work to be done, but if we are not getting the buy-in of everybody,
Right.
it's gonna fail.
Yeah, yeah, so yeah, that's a good point, thank you.
Yep.
So, okay, so who's got waste that we can identify as, what do you have here?
This is a hard one. That's why I chose it. Because it keeps its shape. But, like this, you can recycle, right?
If you collected them all in a bigger.
If you collect them all in a bigger container.
Yeah, because it's
Yes.
smaller than a baseball.
But it's small and it'll
Yeah,
fall
that's
through.
what I thought. So trash.
Yeah, so yes, and actually in most cases, any tubing is trash. No one will recycle tubing at all. Okay, what about you? Oh, you have a
Plastic
hard
bag
one.
is a no. The glass container, if this is glass, would be yes, but there's liquid in it, so this is all this is, these have to go in hazardous,
Yeah,
and this
so-
is trash.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So this has heparin in it. Heparin is actually a hazardous material, because it's really considered a pesticide. It kills rats, like warfarin, coumadin. Yeah, it's an anticoagulant. And then this one is normal saline, but because it has liquid in it, they won't take it, so it has to be empty. If it's empty and the cap is off, they'll take it. Yeah, okay, who else? How about over here? What did you have? Okay. Trash. Okay, now these Tetra Paks, because it has liquid in it, it needs to be drained, otherwise it'd be trash. But Recology actually will recycle these Tetra Paks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is amazing because it's paper, foil, and plastic all together, but they said they would take it. So it would be this, milk cartons, soy milk cartons, any kind of juice cartons that are made with this Tetra Pak. Okay.
Oh, wow.
If you empty them, so.
Peppermint oil.
Peppermint oil.
Peppermint dumpling.
Yeah, recycle, yeah, exactly. You wanna pour the liquid out, then recycle it. Did you have? Trash, right, these over bags are all trash. There are Ivy bags that come without the overpack. They're a little bit more expensive, but they do sell them, so those are without the waste. Trash, yes.
Paper, but it's not hard than trash.
Okay, actually, this is very interesting. So if you try and tear just a little corner of it. If it tears like paper, right, you have to put a little effort into tearing that.
Oh, there's two.
It's really plastic. It's made out of like polyester, small plastic, it can't be recycled. Trash. Who else has, recycle, okay, great, yeah, because you can't, even if you scratch it, it pops back in shape.
Recycle, trash.
Yes, exactly. So these, this cover, which you see everywhere, right? It can't be recycled. So you have to tear it off, throw it in the trash, and this will recycle. Trash. Okay. Actually, most of the time it's clean when you take it off. So these caps we can recycle if you put them in a larger container. But the bags are not. Yeah, these bags. And I try to get these bags recycled, but they won't take them.
Do we
Okay.
have straws downstairs?
They have paper straws downstairs. Yeah, recycle. Recycle, yeah. Okay, so this one's tricky because this is not something that
Oil will fall through.
yeah, and it will fall through and this. So just because of the small size, this would be garbage.
If they were stated connected though, like that, like that would fall through.
Well, if you so these are made for disposable,
Yeah.
but there are the other ones, the sturdier ones, those are all.
You got what you weren't got.
Yes, exactly. So just pour the liquid out and recycle. Okay, yes. Well,
Even the pump assembly on that is recyclable?
yeah, close enough. Okay, trash. Anybody else? Okay, great. Any other questions? Yes.
So you could, if you wanted to, save an empty water bottle or saline bottle and the lid, and then put all of your like syringe caps or end caps through the day as long as you close it up, right? And then throw that inside recycling. So you feel really ambitious.
Well, like some of the, where was I? Phlebotomy? They collect so much. They said that was expensive. But in most cases, bottles, you want to separate the cap and the bottle because they're not made of the same material. So you have to separate. And it lets them know it's really empty if there's something there.
So does the cap
Recycling also? Yeah, it does, but they'll take it because they want it separate.
Suppose we have small bottles of saline, a small bottle of, but it's glass of medicine. So we're going to put that in the plastic.
So if it has medicine in it, it's
Like
pourable.
syringe.
If it's completely empty, you can recycle it. But if it's any pourable.
But they're
type of
smaller
bottle,
ones, can we combine them and put it on the,
No, a bigger container?
Bigger
Yeah, we can
container.
do that. Yeah, but definitely if it has any pharmaceutical, it has to go in the pharmaceutical waste container.
What about the blue wraps, the latest stats on that, is there any?
So
recycling
blue
of that?
wrap, we were collecting it, but then we lost a buyer for it. So now we're looking at trying to come up with a company to collect all of our blue wrap and make patient belonging bags. Turns out, I think we buy the patient belonging bags for 18 cents, and to have these made is about $1 each. So we were thinking if we could partner with like Johnson & Johnson or other, and they put their brand on it, that we could probably get it at cost. So we're still looking into that. Procurement's looking into it, but, we'll see.
How long has been your program created?
Well,
Your department?
the waste program has been in place for a long time. For the hospital, we just haven't really pushed it because there was no significant penalty. And we knew that there was an issue about sorting and, so just not until now is when we're really doing a big push for staff because of this ordinance. Yeah.
And is every single department getting this education? Because we tried this, just simple recycling in the ladies' bathroom, and we couldn't even get them to stop throwing these things into the recycling. So, and even though we put signs and tacked one out and said, no, it just didn't work out, so.
So we have about a dozen departments that are certified. We call them Living Green Certified Departments, where they've actually gone through all the training in the past. And then this time around, we reached out to them and said, let's, we'll do this training for you all. And then I sent an email out to all the departments saying, we have this ordinance, we're gonna get fined, invite us to your next department meeting. So far, we've gone to about 40 departments, but I think there's another 60 more that we haven't gotten to.
Like the contractors and
Contractor,
like that.
yeah.
Because they're all part of
Right.
this group.
Well, the contractors are hired by a department, so I'm hoping that they're included in the training by that department. So right now, we've gone through all of the certified departments, and then all of the friendly departments who happen to invite us, thank you. And then there's more who haven't invited us yet. So what we're doing is reporting back to Sheila Antrim every month what our progress is, so she can help us make sure we get everybody trained. Yeah. So, and we're expecting that we're gonna be fine fairly soon, because the ordinance started July 1st, and they said they would have maybe 90 days to get through the first 400 businesses, and we think that we're getting pretty close.
Is there a way to get these blue jackets easily accessible so that we don't have to throw away so many of these? So like the one that Leanne is wearing, they just have them stocked, anybody can grab by, they could just walk by and grab one.
Yeah.
Those are in a,
The sweaters?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're in like, you need a card, like you need access. It just seems like a really easy way to
And they
eliminate
don't
Yeah.
have
more
more
ways.
sizes either.
Is that why? Is
Yeah.
that why?
I think part of that too is just controlling the cost of there's an issue of like everybody's grabbing 20 and stocking it somewhere, and then so there was so I think that's where the initiative came from. They put that machine so that
They supply those, like what's the difference?
what's that?
They supply
The
long
disposable
gowns.
ones.
No, the long gown.
The long
But
gowns.
but that's not our standard of
Yeah.
of
That long gun is meant for outside.
Yeah, I get it, I'm just saying, because they're that big of a cost, I mean, I don't know.
And actually,
Those are recycled.
Let me send an email
Oh.
and I'll find out. It's an easy question.
If we could get rid of those, that would be great. I know that ideally, we're not supposed to wear those in the
Yeah.
yard. I love them because they are.
They're warm.
Yeah.
You're supposed to wear them on the out, just
Yeah.
to leave the department, but if we can somehow make that happen, I'm sure I can talk.
yeah, that would be great, because really the disposables versus the washables, sometimes, I think a lot of people think I'm washing them and I'm using a lot more water. But all the disposables, we buy it, use it, wear it once, we throw it out. It takes a lot more energy, water, just to produce it. And petroleum product, because a lot of it's plastic, and it's made from petroleum, so we're creating a market for petroleum products. Yeah.
People will have to go in and do the cloth jacket.
But they don't have enough sizes in the
Yeah.
cloth jacket.
So again, that's something I can talk to Taylor about.
My friend.
And And then the clear plastic bags, let's say, the clear plastic bags that are around our packs are thrown in the trash every day. And some of us use those, reuse those as trash bags. They make excellent trash bags.
Yeah.
So I think we should recycle those, have them, you know,
Just
place it
internally.
clean, they're all clean, put them in the core somewhere like we do with the blue wraps, eventually hopefully we'll do that again. And then people that do use them can use them, and we're not just throwing them in the trash, we're using them.
Yeah, just let your housekeeping staff know that you have a certain location that you're collecting them, and they can help you use them.
Yeah, we don't even get plastic bags in the room, we're not using those bags, come on. Let's be serious.
We can't get garbage bags in the OR. We can't get a garbage bag in the OR. How are we gonna get those?
Thank you.